Hey guys, it's Maria here from Mom on the Run, and in today's video I want to talk about running in pregnancy, specifically during the second trimester. Sort of my own personal experiences, some tips and tricks and suggestions if this is something that you're choosing to do. If y'all don't know me, my name's Maria. I'm a mom of one crazy toddler. I have been a nurse for over 8 years now, and I have been a long distance runner for over 14 years. So real quick before I get into the video, I just want a disclaimer. As you all know, I am a nurse, but nothing that I say is going to substitute the advice of your own doctor. Please take anything I say with a grain of salt. Trust your own body, listen to your doctor. Every woman's pregnancy is different. Everybody has a different experience. So, don't take anything that I say at face value. But getting into today's topic, running during the second trimester of pregnancy. I talked in my last video about running during the first trimester. First trimester running, the main struggle that I faced was just sort of morning sickness, nausea, fatigue, but my mileage and pace overall did not significantly decrease. I did manage to run a half marathon in my first trimester, and I placed in my age group, so I was really proud of that. But I only gained about 5 pounds during my first trimester. Like I said, the biggest struggle was just morning sickness and nausea and a little bit of fatigue, and so I combated that with a lot of snacking. But the second trimester was when the weight really started to pile on, and I started to start showing and have a noticeable bump, and so that kind of threw my balance off a little bit, and that's when my mileage really started to decrease. Whereas I was probably running about 30 miles a week on average in my first trimester. In the second trimester it was probably more like 20-25 maybe. I was able to do some long runs, but those looked more like 7-8 miles, a lot less than maybe before I was doing 10 miles. So when you think about pregnancy and you think about a workout training plan, I hate to say it, but being pregnant is kind of like the opposite of getting in shape. You're gradually getting out of shape as time goes on. And you're not really out of shape. Your body is just working so hard doing other things. But instead of gradually increasing your mileage like you would in a normal training plan, you're just going to gradually decrease your mileage, decrease your speed, decrease your intensity. And what I found was that when I did genuinely tune in and listen to my body, I did that naturally. So I didn't have a specific training plan. I didn't have a specific plan for how I was going to decrease my mileage. I just did it. And it happened very gradually. And I did run in my third trimester, but it was very minimal. I didn't do a lot of running. I did run consistently, but it was not a lot of mileage and a lot of intensity in that third trimester, and I'll talk about that in another video. So as far as the second trimester goes, kind of building upon what I said about the first, nutrition and hydration is super important, and rest. So you have to fuel your body. I would always eat before a run. I wasn't as nauseous in the second trimester, but I would always try and make sure that I wasn't running on an empty stomach. I wasn't just drinking a cup of coffee. I mean, I had to eat, I had to drink, I had to fuel. I would say that the beginning of the second trimester running was very comparable to the first. I will say you do kind of get that. I know people talk about you kind of have that sweet spot where you're a lot less nauseous in the second trimester, but you're also you're not really gaining a lot of weight. Sorry, I'm distracted. I'm sitting on my porch. The second trimester, once you get past that first trimester, you do feel a lot better. You have a lot more energy. But I felt like for myself, as soon as I started having that bump, I just I had a lot less. I definitely slowed down quite a bit. So I had that bump. I was slowing down a bit. I did walk every now and then on some of my runs. I would do a walk run as I kind of got towards the end of the second trimester. But the first half of the second trimester wasn't too bad. I was just doing a lot of long, slow distance, as I call it, LSD, easy runs, easy distance, not pushing the pace too much. And then by the second half of my second trimester, before I got into the third trimester, I started having Braxton Hicks contractions during some of my runs. And I discussed this with my doctor, who luckily she was also a runner, so really cool. We really connected, and we kind of like discussed this, and she wasn't super concerned about it. It was the type of thing that as soon as I stopped running, the contractions would go away. Usually when it would happen, it was because it was too hot outside. I do live in South Carolina, and I was pregnant in the summer, so it was so rough. But a lot of times I noticed that trying to run in the morning when it wasn't as hot, making sure I was hydrated, making sure I wasn't getting my heart rate up too high, and sometimes even taking a little walk break in the middle of the run to just kind of let myself calm down a little bit would kind of help me get through it. So at this point, I was really not focusing on pushing myself, pushing the pace, pushing the intensity. I honestly don't know how some of these women on Instagram and these influencers have these pregnancies where they don't even show, they don't even have a belly. I talked a little bit in my last video about influencer culture and why I think it's important to keep expectations realistic for yourself and not compare yourself to people who are professional runners or professional athletes online. You know, that's not realistic. Most of us work jobs, most of us have other expectations outside of just our workout routine. So I really listened to my body. I took it slow. I did not push a lot during the second trimester. It was very uneventful. Like I said, I did have those Braxton Hicks contractions from time to time, and usually the best way to combat that was just trying to run when it wasn't hot outside. And I didn't like freak out when it happened because they were very mild, but if it got to the point where I was uncomfortable, I would stop. And like I said, I discussed this with my doctor. I brought everything to her. She was also a runner. So, so second trimester running, very slow, very easy, not pushing the pace a lot. I did not run any races during this time. One thing I wanted to point out that I didn't mention in the last video, in addition to running during pregnancy being super helpful for your physical health, like preeclampsia, preventing gestational diabetes, preventing complications of pregnancy. I also had a very easy delivery. Another benefit of running during pregnancy is your mental health. I noticed during the second trimester, my hormones were a little bit crazy. I was a little bit moody and irritable and stressed, and I was also moving into a new place where I live now, and there was just a lot of life changes in my life going on. I was very nervous about becoming a new mom and all the changes, and so I felt like running was something that really helped me to relax and stay calm, and it was a positive, healthy thing that I could do to boost my mental health. Also getting outdoors, reducing stress, just staying moving. And I do feel like it also helped prevent excessive weight gain. I did talk a little bit in my last video about how some female runners struggle with putting on weight during pregnancy. That was not my personal struggle. I feel like running helped me from putting on excess pounds. Like I said, I still ate a lot. I still pretty much ate whatever I wanted. I still drank lots of water. But I do feel like running during my pregnancy helped keep the weight gain healthy, realistic. I know a lot of people, I know this is probably controversial to say, but I know a lot of people in America gain like twice the amount of weight they're supposed to gain during pregnancy, and for some this might be what their body needs, but I know for myself, I, believe it or not, I was a 12-pound baby when I was born. My mother, I think, had like a borderline gestational diabetes or something, and so that's something that I didn't want for myself and for my kid. And so while there's a lot of, I got a lot of weird looks from people when I was pregnant running. I had people offer me, to pick me up on the side of the road. I live in the South. People running here is weird in general. People running pregnant here is weird. So I had people like literally offer to give me rides when I was just running or walking on the side of the road. So, people kind of give you weird looks sometimes. People kind of judge. But at the end of the day, I know that what I did created the healthiest possible outcome for my son. I had an easy delivery. Everything was healthy. There was no complications. I had no pregnancy preeclampsia, gestational diabetes. My son was a healthy weight. I was a healthy weight. I bounced back pretty fast postpartum. It helped with my mental health. So I just like to talk about all those things. Like I said, at the end of the day, listen to your body, listen to your doctor. If you feel like halfway through you want to stop running because that's what your maternal instinct tells you to do, or if you want to just switch to walking, that's fine. Another thing I didn't mention is that in your second trimester of pregnancy, I did kind of touch on this, but like you're starting to develop that bump more, you're starting to show, it's going to throw off your balance in your gait. And so you do kind of have to adjust your gait a little bit. I felt like for myself that adjustment happened very naturally. It was not like this super wobbly thing. Our bodies are so amazing. Like, your body is designed to do this. If you were running before you got pregnant, you can continue running after you got pregnant. I know I should have said that first thing, but that was what my doctor told me. That was what I learned in school. If you were running prior to pregnancy, you can continue running after or during pregnancy. And I feel like if that was something that you were doing, then your body is going to adapt naturally to that. So I found that for myself, the mileage adjustments, the reductions in speed, the reductions in miles, it just happened naturally for me. And I felt like my body also adapted naturally to the pounding and the pressure and sort of the adjustment in gait. It just sort of happened naturally. In my third trimester, I probably ran like the slowest easy pace that I had ever done in my life, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. So for me, another thing I noticed too running in pregnancy, especially in the second trimester, was that I was super flexible. Like, you get that chemical relaxin that kicks in, and typically I'm the type of person that when I run a lot of miles, I get really stiff and I have to stretch constantly, or else I get tight and achy. And when I was pregnant, like, I didn't stretch at all, and I was super flexible. So I was worried about getting injured when I was running pregnant. But what I noticed was, because of all the flexibility from the hormones that I was getting, because your body gets this relaxin that helps you become relaxed so that you can stretch out and for labor, so that you can literally, like, your ligaments expand so the baby can come out of the birth canal. So that relaxin was making me flexible all over the place. And so I think that helped me from getting injured when I was pregnant. So that's just another perk of running during pregnancy. You do have a lot more energy than you think you would. I felt like the need to stay active was something that was very important for me. It's always been important for me to stay active for both my physical and mental health. But especially during pregnancy, you don't want to have blood clots. You don't want to just be sitting around. You don't want to gain excessive weight. That's not going to be good for you or the baby. So I think that in today's society, there's not a lot of research on pregnancy for women, and there's not a lot of support for women that want to exercise pregnant. There's a lot of stigma around it, and people have sort of these outdated views that, like, women that are pregnant should be laying on the couch, should be taking it easy, something could happen to you, when in reality, that's a lot more dangerous than staying active. Again, you have to talk to your doctor, you have to do it safely, you have to be, like, in shape before starting a new running program. But even walking is good. Like, you have to be staying active. You're not supposed to lay around. That can cause a lot worse complications. And I know this might be controversial for some I think this is an outdated notion that women who are pregnant need to be sitting on the couch. Personally, I think that's far more dangerous. So I know I've kind of been all over the place in this video, but basically, to summarize, second trimester of running during my pregnancy, I slowed down quite a bit. I reduced my mileage quite a bit, but I still had a lot of energy. I was still able to complete a lot of runs. It had a lot of positive benefits for me, physically, mentally, emotionally. It got me outside, it got me moving, and I do believe it contributed to positive outcomes in my pregnancy. Again, everybody's journey is individual, and you have to do what works for you. I would like to make another video about the third trimester of running during pregnancy. I think that one's going to be interesting because not a lot of people run in their third trimester that I have heard of, and my experiences of running in the third trimester was just so wild. So I hope to see you in the next video, and you guys have a great week. And if you're pregnant, I hope you enjoy running for 2. Take care.